Call the July 6, 2021 Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:45.
Committee meeting. City staff briefed the Finance Committee on a claim submitted to Creative Energies LLC in the amount of $56,625.68 for the Senior Citizen Center Solar Upgrade Project. The Senior Center Board requested that the funds come from the endowment fund, with 40% of the cost of the solar panels to be reimbursed to the fund before the end of the 2021 fiscal year, which ended in on June 30th. The remaining balance would be reimbursed to the fund directly from the Rocky Mountain Power Blue Sky Grant Program. On Tuesday, June 29th, representatives of the Senior Center Board of Directors called a special meeting to communicate with members of the endowment board that they are still waiting for a receipt of their funding. They've been advised by their funding agency that they'll be receiving monies within 3 to 4 weeks, but they did ask the endowment board for a 5-week extension to allow for any last-minute delays. So the endowment board was in favor of the request, and at this time, we're seeking approval from the Finance Committee to grant the extension of repayment from the Riverton Senior Citizen Center to the endowment board fund to August 10th of 2021.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the extension to August 10th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Paranto has the motion and Councilwoman Salisbury has the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passed.
Thank you.
The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the claims.
I make a motion for the consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $755,042.04. Payroll and liabilities for June 18th, 2021 in the amount of $456,531.03 for a total of $1,211,573.07.
All right, Councilwoman Salisbury has the motion and Councilwoman Pronto has the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Is there any additional discussion?
I have nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, seeing none, we'll adjourn at 6:47.
July 6, 2021 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance will be given by me and the invocation by Councilman Bailey.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dearest Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings that we enjoy. Thank you for the ability to live here in this wonderful city of Riverton. Please bless us in all that we do tonight. Help us to make the best decisions for the citizens of the city of Riverton. Please guide us in all that we do, that we may make those decisions with all of the citizens in mind. Please keep our police, emergency responders, and safe as they do their jobs, keeping us safe, and no matter where they may be. We ask all these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the city clerk please conduct a roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Dean Pronto.
Here.
Councilman Lindsey Cox. Here. Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilman Carla Borders. Here. Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilman Christy Salisbury. Here. Mayor Richard Gard.
Here. I declare a quorum is present. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Dean, was that you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilwoman Borders and a second by Councilman Peranto. Any council discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is scheduled for a public hearing will be given the opportunity to speak during that public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council on any other item may speak now. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council at this time to approach the podium and to identify yourself for the record. We move on to item number 8, consent agenda. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, June 15, 2021, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, June 29, 2021, special council meeting. Approval of the minutes, July 6, 2021, finance committee meeting. And approval of the finance committee recommendations for July 6, 2021.
Thank you. Are there any items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor, the Finance Committee met earlier this evening and approved the consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $755,042.04. Payroll and liabilities for 6/18/2021 in the amount of $456,531.03 for a total of $1,211,573.07.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has a motion. Councilman Bailey has a second. Further discussion from the council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Public hearing and consideration on firework permit application. Riverton Rendezvous Committee. City Clerk's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mayor and council, before you tonight for your consideration is a fireworks permit application for the Riverton Rendezvous Committee for the annual balloon rally fireworks display that will be at J.C. Park on July 17th, 2021 from 10 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. The conditions of the permit application have been completed, the proper fees have been paid, the letter of recommendation from the fire chief has been received, and proper notice to the public has been advertised. Also included in your packet is a map where the fireworks will be displayed. And in addition, and as a requirement of the code, a representative from Riverton Rendezvous Committee is present at tonight's meeting. Based on the information provided through the application process, staff recommends approval of the fireworks permit application as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Cox has the motion. Councilwoman Borders has the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I declare a public hearing open. Public hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statute and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
Seeing none, Your Honor, I would move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman Bailey and second by Councilman Larson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the fireworks permit application for the Riverton Rendezvous Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Peranto has the motion. Councilwoman Cox has the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Consideration of ordinance number 21-006, third and final reading, the Riverton Municipal Code, Chapter 5.04, Alcohol Beverage Revision. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-006 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-006 on third and final reading. An ordinance amending Title V Business Licenses and Regulations, repealing and replacing Chapter 5.04 Alcoholic Beverages of the Riverton Municipal Code and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-006 on third and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has a motion, and Councilwoman Salisbury has a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Nope. Would the city clerk please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Dean Pronto.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox.
Aye.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Aye.
Councilman Carla Borders.
Aye.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Aye.
Councilman Christy Salisbury.
Aye.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Consideration of ordinance number 21-008, third and final reading, amendment title to 17- Commercial Code, 17-1 zoning districts. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-008 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-008 on third and final reading. An ordinance amending Title 17 zoning, Chapter 17.56 Commercial District C1, Section 17.56.040 Use Regulations, subsection I of the Riverton Municipal Code and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-008 on third and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Peranto has the motion and the second by Councilwoman Cox. Any further discussion? Seeing none, would the city clerk please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Dean Pronto.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox.
Aye.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Aye.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Christy Salisbury.
Aye.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Aye. Motion passes. Public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 21-009, first reading light manufacturing commercial zoning property. City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Section 17.56.040 of the Riverton Municipal Code currently lists use regulations for C1 zoning district. The uses denoted are typically of centrally located commercial zoning districts, but does not allow for light manufacturing. Currently, as is described in your staff report, if clothing business were to occupy space in the commercial C1 zoning district and wanted to manufacture clothing, it would not be allowed to do so legally. What is proposed to you allows that to be changed. It does so by amending 1708-010 and 1756-040 on use regulations, defining light manufacturing as a business where all processing, fabricating, assembly, or disassembly of items takes place wholly within an enclosed building. Items may include, but are not limited to, apparel, home accessories, food, clothing accessories, decorations, jewelry, instruments, computers, electronic devices, and component parts. Proposed ordinance 21009 is presented in an effort to provide more flexibility within those zones and to provide for additional use within those zones. The Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval of ordinance 21009 at their June 17th, 21 regular meeting, and the item is recommended for approval. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-009 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-009 on first reading, an ordinance amending Title 17 zoning to revise Chapter 17.08 definitions, Section 17.08.010 definitions, and Chapter 17.56 Commercial District C1, Section 17.56.040 use regulations of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has a motion. Councilman Bailey has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. I now declare public hearing open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statute and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
Your Honor, members of the council, my name is Kevin Kershishnik. I'm with Idea Inc. and Manufacturing Works here in Riverton. I guess I'd like to say that I think this is a great opportunity for us to modernize our zoning. If you look at what's happening in manufacturing, we're starting to reshore here in the States. It's an opportunity for people to vertically integrate. So like the city administrator Tolstead was saying, if you are a apparel company, you're downtown, you want to accessorize, you want to print bracelets, additive manufacturing, you could do that. There's a lot of things that can happen on the retail side. And the one that's true and dear to my heart is you get a new appliance and you're missing a control knob on that, yet you have a dinner appointment. And what are you going to do? You're going to call it up, say, hey, I'll have it to you in a week? No, you go down to the store, Hussel's, Porter's, wherever, they'll print one up for you same day. You're cooking dinner that night. So those are the type of things that we can really do with this advanced manufacturing. And in order to give our businesses the opportunity to do that, I think is a real plus. Plus, it'll open up additional resources at the state level to quote-unquote manufacturers in the local area. So fully support that and ask for your support for this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Seeing no others, chair would ask for a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Cox has a motion. Councilman Bailey has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-009 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has a motion. Councilman Bailey has a second. Further discussion.
Your Honor.
Mike?
One minor little detail on the top of page 36. We're talking about proposed ordinance number 21-009, and it says 21-011. So we just have a typo.
Okay. Who do you want to correct that?
Kristen, I think, would be the best.
We'll get that fixed. Thank you.
Thanks. Kind of fun to see if anybody's reading that, huh, Kristen? You just threw that in for that, didn't you? Any other questions? Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 21-014, first reading, form of government, strong mayor. City Attorney's report, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You have my memo to the Mayor and Council in the packet. I would like to make one correction to it. In the background section, it indicates that the city administrator makes all department head appointments except the attorney and the judge, and it says with the consent of the council. It has been the practice to do so with the consent of the council, but the way the current ordinance reads, that is not in there. So that is the one correction. I put what we do in practice as opposed to what's written in the ordinance. So presently, the Riverton city government is mayor, council, and a city administrator. As I said, the mayor appoints the attorney and the judge with the consent of the council. The city administrator makes all other appointments of department heads. He also then carries out the requests, goals, whatever, from the council and the governing body, and he generally oversees the administration of the city, preparation of budgets, of those things. The proposal is to amend that ordinance to what they call transform it to a strong mayor form of government. That's kind of an unofficial term. It is addressed in state statutes where basically the mayor would make all of the appointments with the consent of the council, so not just the judge and the attorney, but all other department heads and appointed positions. It would be his charge then to carry out the administration of the functions of the city, oversee the departments. The city administrator position then would have no appointment power and would generally work under the mayor. Similar, I guess you could, as an analogy, would be a corporation where you have a board of directors, the council, and the mayor in this case, and a CEO who then oversees the entire corporation. So that is the change that's being proposed. The city administrator's position would go from an appointed position with the consent of the council, could only be removed by a majority vote of the council. It would revert back to like the other department heads, where it would be appointed by the mayor with the consent of the council and could be removed by the mayor. If the ordinance were to pass, there are other sections of city policies and rules that are also going to need to be amended. They can be amended by resolution. The city personnel manual has a chain of command for grievances and disciplinary appeals, for reduction in force selections. Those would then have to correspond to this new ordinance, whereby the mayor basically would have to take over and fill those roles that are presently designated to the city administrator. Thank you, and if there's questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Kyle?
You likened that, you said, to a corporation with a body of directors. Is that true then there that the corporate structure board of directors would be able to terminate the CFO?
That is correct under that. That's obviously one difference.
So that is a difference, but that wouldn't be a similarity here. We would not be able to fire the mayor.
And that's what I say. That is a difference in my analogy. I guess I was addressing more the operations, who would be responsible for what. Under the corporations, the board of directors, basically tells the CEO which direction they want the company to kind of go. And it's his job to implement it and oversee everybody within the corporation below him to ensure that that takes place. But you are correct, that is one major difference between my analogy is this council can't get rid of the mayor like a board of directors can get rid of a CEO.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-014 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-014 on first reading, an ordinance amending Title II, Administration and Personnel, Chapter 2.04, Mayor and Council, Section 2.04.110, Chapter 2.10, City Administrator, Sections 2.10.020 and 2.10.030, Chapter 2.12, City Clerk, Sections 2.12.010 and 2.12.030, Chapter 2.13, Finance Director, Sections 2.13.101 and 2.13.030, Chapter 2.20, Community Development Director, Section 2.20.010, Chapter 2.24, Public Works Director, Sections 2.24.010 and 2.24.030, Chapter 2.28, Chief of Police, Sections 2.28.010 and 2.28.070, Chapter 2.32, Police Department, Sections 2.32.040 and 2.32.060, and Chapter 2.40, Emergency Management Organization, Section 2.40.010, and repealing Sections 2.10.040, 2.10.060, and establishing Sections 2.04.026 and 2.04.027 of the Riverton Municipal Code and providing for an additional duties and responsibilities of the mayor, and repealing all ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has a motion. Councilman Larson has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. I now declare a public hearing open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statute and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Diana Mahoney, and I'm here to tell you I strongly oppose this ordinance, and I hope that your vote will go that way. Some of the reasons I have is because hiring then could become politicized based on the hot topics of the day politically in Riverton or in Wyoming or the world. Can't see. The political agenda of the mayor at that time could be pushed. The city administrator would be stripped of power if he chose to leave because of that loss of power. Then that would create a vacuum that the mayor does not have to fill. So we could have an opening for city administrator that we would never fill, or any other department head. So our checks and our balances would go out the window. So I strongly urge you to vote against this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the council. I'm Cody Beers. I live on Wellington Court. I'm neighbors with the mayor, and I come to you tonight to ask a few questions and also voice why I'm against this proposed ordinance. First reason is we've got a fairly large city here, and it takes a team. And it takes a team that can do the job without having the hint of political interference. And what I fear is something that happened with the city of Riverton's government in the past when I first lived here in the 1980s, when a lot of decisions were politicized, from HR to city finance to the police department to public works to the administrative staff. That's a concern. We need checks and balances in all government. I can't imagine why a mayor and a city council would want to make all the decisions when you've got a staff, a professionally trained staff, to make these decisions and bring those ideas to you for approval. I think a lot of questions need to be answered that the public have. This is something that's being brought up as a solution to what problem? I think if you want to have a public process, you should sell the problem to the public. Right now, I see a solution to a problem that I don't know that exists. Again, got good people. These people are going to leave if they feel like they cannot do their job without political interference. Good people. People who've made an investment in our community. And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I hope that you will back up and study this a little bit. Towns of this size in Wyoming are ruled by city administrator type governments that are inclusive, that make decisions as a whole. It's the only way good government works in today's day and age. And I hope that you will reconsider. This is total surprise. When I read about this, had no idea this was happening. I come to you tonight to say, let cooler heads prevail, step back, reevaluate, and realize that you've got a lot of good people who are going to leave, frankly. They will. So thank you for your time, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Thank you.
Your Honor and members of the council, elected people representing us, I too want to voice my dislike. With all due respect, I believe you all are very capable of doing this job, but I all know you have jobs besides the job of sitting where you are. These people work full-time for us. Unless you intend to work full-time in those positions, I don't believe that this is what we want to do as a community. It's a big community. Likewise, the continuity. So when you are no longer the elected official, we need the continuity to flow for the city to continue on. And that's, like Cody referred to, that was a problem in the past. When we had the strong mayor left, and then we still needed the continuity to continue the business of running this city. I really urge you to consider this strongly before you move forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, City Council, my name is Robert Scheidemantel. Just have one real quick question that I hope you can answer. What exactly does consent by council mean?
You have to have a majority of the council support the choice by the mayor to make that appointment.
Is that a vote, or is that?
Yes, it would be every time we appoint somebody from the mayor's, we get a majority vote from the council.
Currently, does the administration hire new employees by consent of city council?
No.
No?
Not anybody but the top staff is is brought to council.
Correct. But under consent, are you voting on, like, for instance, when Eric Carr got hired, did you vote on Eric Carr's position?
I wasn't here. Was anybody here when we hired Eric? Was there a consent vote?
Your Honor, I do not believe there was. It was brought to, but it was brought to council.
There should have been a consent vote according to the statute. If the city administrator selects that position and then brings it to the council according to the statute. So that's the way it should have happened.
Okay.
And that's the way it should happen also with the strong mayor, was the mayor would make that appointment. I would hope with the council, would make that choice, and then would have to get the consent of the council to approve that position.
Mr. Mayor, if I could address that.
Please.
And I think that was in my introduction to the council. If you read the municipal code, it says that the city administrator appoints those positions. It does not say with the consent of the council. However, it has been the practice, I think since I've been here, which is a long time, that the city administrator would bring it to the council for their consent to his appointment. Not required, but it was done that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
It would be required for the mayor to do that, though.
The new ordinance reads that it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Hancock from Ward 3. Like some other folks here, I wanted to express that I don't think this is a good idea. We have right now the opportunity to work with some great people on the council. In order to direct Tony as the city administrator to do certain things, it requires the council to do that. And the council does that frequently through ordinances, through goal setting that's done at the beginning of the year and throughout the year. And the reality is, it makes sense to do that. You have a good slice of the community on the council. We have 6 members of the council and a mayor who represent a lot of different professions and a lot of different experiences and life experiences. So we have a benefit to that. That's a benefit to the city of Riverton. It's a benefit to the staff. It's a benefit to everyone that we have a council that has a lot of experience. We're talking, I don't want to age some of you, but clearly more than 150 years of experience if you combine everybody on the council. And I'm probably giving some people some credit for age, Kyle. But anyway, the point is kind of like's been said, if there's an issue, if there's a problem, the council can work with that. The council can address it, and the council can try to make the changes necessary, either in practice or policy or whatever it is from the city administrator. So I think there's a benefit to having the council make decisions. There's a benefit to the citizens. I think it's envisioned in our Constitution. It's envisioned in our form of government that we have most of the power be in legislative bodies. That's been the point. Article 1 of the Constitution is about the legislative bodies. The intention has been that legislative bodies, as representatives, are the ones who are doing the work. They are taking care of governance. So I think that's part of the whole point. We're talking about more than 150 years of experience versus one person. So just from an ideological standpoint, I think it makes much more sense to have the council need to be convinced of changes and be convinced of what needs to occur in the city rather than just one person. I think this proposed ordinance is very concerning, I think, as anyone who would work for the city. Sure, the appointments require that the mayor presents a person to the council, and the council has to consent to it. But they can be removed by the mayor at any time. That doesn't require the consent of the council. And I think that would be very difficult to work under that set of circumstances, either as a city administrator or any of the senior staff. The mayor would be taking charge of the police department, could at any time say the chief is out. And this specifically gives him that authority to be in charge of the police department, hire and have special police officers. So I think one of the things that we have is that the benefit to what we have right now is rather than that, we have layers. We have protections for our employees. We have protections for our citizens built into what we have. We have a city administrator who's running it at the direction of council. We have then under that the senior staff who are working at his direction. And that creates protection for personnel matters. We have professionals who are dealing with our personnel matters. We're ensuring we're doing things right. And that's important to be able to have them handle that. That can get us into a morass of problems as a city. So I guess those are some of the reasons. I don't want to I could sit here all night, but I'm not going to. Those are, I think, the biggest reasons I'd like to share and would just like to express that I'm against this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Joel Highsmith, from Shoshone. I'm not in Riverton, but brought to my attention some Facebook chatter about this meeting tonight, so I just thought I'd come in, and I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't read the whole article or the proposed, but in generalization, I'll say, you know, I would support that for several reasons. I am the mayor of Shoshone, and I will run, I would say, a modified strong mayor government over there is what we have. But the analogy of the mayor being a CEO is because the city of Riverton is an incorporated town. It isn't a corporation. The different forms of government, and one of them is what they call the strong mayor, but he is actually the CEO. I got sent some text, some of the Facebook chatter, and some of it says, you know, we have capable people doing this and that when the mayor has no qualifications. I don't know, you can have qualifications besides a college degree in administration. Mayor Gard ran a business for 40 years. I would say he's gotten quite a bit of qualifications in financing, in personnel, very, very, very qualified. And as a learned speaker in front of me was talking about the duties of the council and legislation, well, the council are legislators. That's the design. The council controls the budget, ordinances. It governs, but the day-to-day operation, I think works smoothly. If you get too many bosses involved, in it can cause an issue the other way. I'm familiar with some of the Riverton staff. Tony, most have had quite a bit of interactions. Great guy. I know Mayor Gard consults Tony on much. I don't think Mayor Gard would not continue to do that. You know, I think I would. I honestly haven't dove in and read the proposed ordinance change, but I would suggest you pass it on the first reading. I wouldn't kill it now. I would suggest to everybody, I don't know how well read and understanding of state statutes and of how towns are supposed to, you know, operate and what this would do. I would encourage you to pass it on the first reading and research it more. Like I said, I just, excuse me, was brought this to my attention this afternoon. So it can have, you know, it can have many positive things. I'm sure Mayor Guard's intentions are not to run out and fire things, but sometimes it simplifies if you have one person making decisions. The important ones would be brought to the council as has been discussed. I don't I don't see the real negative on this, and it's still, you got to follow state statutes, and Mayor Guard would still be have to abide by them. But that would be my suggestion, was to look at it more and move forward. And this is only the first reading. Got to go 2 more. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jed, excuse me, Jed L. Hovander, Ward 3. I'm opposed to this ordinance for a couple of different reasons. A couple of them have already been echoed tonight. Ms. Gilpatrick, as far as the continuity through administrative services and everything else. But my primary business I've been in for the last 12 years is benefits world, and I've worked with over 100 companies in 3 or 4 different counties in central Wyoming over the years. And I have some small insight into HR matters. And HR is a minefield to step into. The city of Riverton we're getting to be a larger city, a higher profile organization with massive budgets and a lot of staff and a lot of departments. And you put it all together, and it's a complex organization. And opposition to this isn't necessarily because of Mayor Guard or anything of his capabilities. It's the next mayor and the next mayor after that. So in other words, what we're doing is we're actually asking the next mayors to have large HR credentials to be able to effectively manage the organization of the city and deal with HR matters and everything else. And I don't recall that ever coming up in discussion with during the election of mayors in the past in City of Riverton. And so as far as safety and protection to the city, as far as hiring professional managers to deal with some of the matters, the potential landmines dealing with HR, with federal funding, also state funding, grants, and everything else that the city of Riverton does, I really would encourage to keep the format that we currently have, just because of the burden that would be placed on the council and specifically on the mayor, and making sure that the mayor always has those skills, which is at any election up for debate. So I'm opposed to this change. Hope you will look forward to the years down the road as far as how this would actually impact the city and the city administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Jim Gores. I think every one of you know me. And not to refute what Diane and Cody and Robert and Tim and Mrs. Gilpatrick all have to say, there are certainly some advantages to having a strong mayor form of government. The mayor probably ought to have a can sitting on his desk that says the can can't be kicked any further. You know, there needs to be someone who has authority to make a final decision. And the military branches don't have a council of generals to run the organization. You know, they have to respond quickly to situations. That's not to mean that Mayor Guard would handle things any differently with an iron fist or something. But certainly as a leader, he's going to have to corroborate with the rest of you in the form of important decisions. And that has a real benefit in terms of the fact that somebody takes the lead and everybody else is accountable. And that, I think, is something that is at the present isn't necessarily fully appreciated or understood. So, and that's not to say that Tony and the rest of the staff are not competent. They very definitely are. But you still have to have somebody who makes final decision, and that's it. And I'm in support of that sort of management, and I think that Mayor Gard and Councilman Mike, with their many years' experience, understand what that means. So, and does all the city staff who will be working under these people. But I don't fear a strong mayor, but I'm going to be a lot more discerning, perhaps, as to who the heck I vote for mayor. And I think every one of us needs to do that. You know, does that person have the temperament to run the city and run it equitably and fairly? I think we do right now. In the future, I don't know. But it's going to be dependent on all of us to elect that person into that position, knowing its responsibility, and carry on accordingly. Thank you. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you.
Good evening, Kip Post, Mayor and Council. I am a proponent, strongly support the ordinance. The attorney mentioned the similarity to a CEO, and I think there's definitely some there. You know, that the mayor needs to be able to make those decisions. And it's been brought up by several different opponents that all of a sudden the mayor's going to get rid of all the city staff, or he's going to fire people or let them go. I don't think that's the situation at all. The idea behind a strong mayor type of government, if you read about it in any city that has it set up that way, is it streamlines the government. It makes things go faster. It makes us be able to react to situations in a quicker manner, which I agree with. And as far as the powers, it's not necessarily granting the mayor a lot of power over our department heads or appointments, politicizing them any more than they are right now. The council's still approving those. The mayor can pick an appointee. This council still has to come in and approve it. This isn't the one-man show all of a sudden that it turns into by doing this. It does give the mayor the authority, it sounds like, to let people go. Great. I don't have a problem with that. You know, if the city staff, if any company, if the staff is afraid that their boss is going to fire them, maybe they'll work a little harder. You know, I think we see that problem. It's not you talk about government in general, not our city. I'm not saying that our city specifically, but government in general. And how many guys does it take to dig a hole? 15, 14 of them stand around and one with a shovel. You know, so I think having a little bit of accountability is not necessarily a bad thing. And I don't think Mayor Gard is that person at all, but I don't support this just because I support Mayor Gard. I think it's the right type of government. And Mr. Gore said it very well, that when we elect someone, when I vote for someone, I'm voting for that person because I believe in their ability to do the job they're running for. Whether that's Mayor Gard or Mike or Carla or Kyle, it doesn't matter. If I'm voting for them, I have a responsibility to vote for the individual that can do the job. When I vote for the mayor, I'm not voting for Tony. Tony does a wonderful job, but I'm picking the mayor to run my city, not Tony. So I think giving that gives a little bit more power back to the elected official, which is who we're voting for. You know, and that elected official has the chance to get things done a little bit faster. And I think we've done a great job in the last 2 years of moving Riverton forward, and I think this is the next step to that. If you look at some progressive cities along the West Coast in the mountain regions, they're strong mayor cities. they're not weak mayor cities. You know, it makes sense. So I'm just a proponent and support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mayor Warpness?
Good evening, Mayor Guard, Council. I hadn't intended on saying anything, but this brings back so many old memories that I couldn't pass up the opportunity to share a little bit. When I took office in 2011, Mayor Vincent spent the last month putting our current form of government into position. And he basically emasculated the mayor's position at that time. And there was a lot of reasons going on why, which I'm not going to bring up in a televised public meeting like this, but what I would encourage, if the council president would like to set up a couple meetings with 3 of the council and 3 of the council, and we get together, then I would be happy to flesh out what was going on at that time and why this decision was made, I think, and at least the information that I had at that time. And then you could use that information to decide how you want to handle this, if you want to go forward with it, or the things that are being said. But Mayor Vincent spent 8 years as mayor, okay, under a strong form of government, and that didn't bother him at all. I'm coming into office, and it suddenly had to be changed. Now, there's a lot packaged in that, and now we're looking at changing it back. I tried to change it back when I was leaving office. I thought, well, if that's what the council wants and they voted for that, then I was happy to do my job with 4 years as mayor. And then at the end of that term, I tried to change it back to the strong mayor form of government. And the council wasn't interested in giving up that power at that time. And so there's a lot going on here. And all I can say is that I would be happy to spend an hour with the council and explain my position at that time and what was happening and how we arrived at where we are now. And then you can make the decision which way to go forward. I think there's pros and cons on both sides of it, but I don't know. It's a challenge, and I don't know. So, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to respond to them, but other than that, why I don't have, I couldn't support this as it's currently written. However, I would like to say that.
Thank you. Rick?
Mayor Guard, I actually was Mayor Warpness's attorney also, but I just wanted to clarify for the record that the city administrator's position was established in 2003. What happened in 2010, up until that point, they could be terminated by the mayor. And so the change that was made in 2010 was not to create the position, but rather to only provide that the city administrator would be removed by a majority of the council. But the position had been there since 2003.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, my name is Rick Gilpatrick. Boy, what a fun decision to have to come up and make a decision on, huh? I'm not really in favor of this method of governing. I'm not worried about so much as our current mayor, but worries me is if you get the wrong person in, and then you have a person that could take control and do things that you don't want done. And there may be some checks and balances with the council, but There's still ways of manipulating around that. I think the city of Riverton right now is run the best that I've seen in years. I remember the days when Mayor Vincent was here with strong mayor, and we didn't accomplish much. And I think you have an organization put together here by you, Mr. Guard, that is operational, it's functional, and you've got lots of people here backing you up. I know if I was a mayor, I wouldn't want the responsibility. I'm not smart enough to know everything about HR, everything about finance, even though I was in business, and I did a lot of that. The world's too complicated today. And there's so many ins and outs and things that you just aren't up on. And you don't have time to do that. So I'm opposed to it. I think you're running well, and I think you've got a great organization, you've got a great council, and you're getting things done and putting Riverton on the map. I want to see it stay that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, Mayor Guard, Council. My name is Janet Winslow, and I have been a short-term resident of Riverton. I guess this is a year now. In this room, I keep hearing the word fear. They're afraid of what's going to happen. They're afraid of making this change. They're afraid of what Riverton will and won't do for itself. And I think that's a bad place to make a decision from. I think we've trusted Mayor Guard and this council to make some good changes and to move Riverton forward in a way that can prosper and grow in the future. And there has to be a good reason for this proposal to come before everyone. So I think that we should support it and at least move forward with this first reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has a motion and Councilman Bailey has a second. Better put my glasses on and back up, maybe. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-014 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Christy Salisbury and the second by Lindsay Cox. Further discussion.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. You know, a lot of, being the new guy, I have a lot of questions. And I think one that kind of comes up a lot is, what are we trying to fix in changing the form of government from where we are now? And is a scalpel a better instrument than a chainsaw in making a sweeping change that has really far and long, just far-reaching implications? You know, when I look at it, I'm not looking at Mayor Guard per se, I'm looking at the position of mayor. When the only stipulation to become a mayor, aside from getting voted in, is that you have to be 18 and a resident of the city, it's somewhat concerning to have the potential of someone with much less experience and much less willingness to work with the council and the administration. So those are the concerns that I bring. And I think that I'm looking for the answer of what we're trying to fix to see if this is the right solution to solve that problem.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll address that in my remarks. Does anybody else have any comments?
Your Honor.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I'm just going to agree with what Dean has said. I really haven't heard a concrete reason why this change needs to be made. I feel to answer to my constituents, I need to know more information before I'm willing to give this an affirmative vote.
Christie?
Your Honor, I also have my public administration degree, and I've looked at different forms of government. And I agree with Janet in the point that to make changes is not always bad. To me, you're going to have either the mayor or a city administrator making these decisions. You could get cross-haired with either one of those. I think having some input on some of the bigger decisions is not something to be afraid of. I think having the ability to always change the form of government if it does in fact occur that it's political, I think you can get, it's a human nature. You're going to get along with some people, you're not going to get along with other people. I think if it happens, we can change and make another ordinance, but I see benefits to both.
Thank you.
Your Honor?
Mike?
You know, again, I think, you know, we have talked about in the past some issues that we've had, but I think at this time, this is a little bit overreaction to what we can do. I think there's ways that we can solve the issues that we have by changing ordinances and all that, and include the entire council in doing that. And I think 7 of us can come up with a better decision most of the time than one would be able to. And again, I think this council has done an amazing job. Mayor Guard, you've done a great job. You've given great input. I fear for the future, and like what Dean said, where if all you have to be is 18 and live in the city of Riverton, you could be mayor. Again, I run a business that has 130 employees, and that scares me to death. You know, if I got hit by a truck tomorrow, it scares me to death. Because, you know, it's taken me 45 years to figure out how to run a business effectively, and I don't know that I always do it very good every day, but I do my best. But, you know, and when I first got on city council, you know, I thought I had it all figured out and I knew what was going on. And the longer I'm here, the more complex, you know, running a business of similar sized employees, for example, compared to running a government agency with that many employees, it's a whole different ballgame. And it takes a level of expertise that I didn't realize needed to be there. And I think it does. And again, I think we've put together an amazing staff of people. And that doesn't mean some of them are going to leave eventually or whenever they choose or whenever they find a job somewhere else. But I think that's going to be, we're going to get better people with a better administrative staff, and that's how it works. The other fear that I have is this really makes the mayor a full-time job. And I don't think for the $1,500 a month that the mayor gets, we're going to find somebody that really is willing to put in 40-plus hours a week, you know, really administering the city of Riverton. We have somebody that we're paying to do that. And, you know, I've had issues with previous administrators. But the good part about that is, you know, if they don't do what they're supposed to, and we all agree as a council, we can send them down the road. And we can't do that with a mayor. Now, we can all agree to disagree, but that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? So, the question is, why are we doing this keeps coming up. And this isn't for me. I don't have, and you know, I tried to explain to Tony and to others that this is not about, we try to make a lot of conversation about people losing their jobs. I've been in council and mayor's position for 6.5 years and have never been involved with anyone getting fired. And so with that being said, we fire very few people and forced to make this decision on the back of, boy, I'm just not confident you'll make the right firing, is kind of an odd statement. What we really do is we need to have more input on who gets hired from the council. And I don't mind any modification to that. I don't want to be the sole proprietor of that. And so if we want to change that and tweak that a little bit and say that the council selects the individuals that we hire, I'm all in for that. What I want to do, and when I talk to city residents, they feel like they have been neutered, that they don't have the ability to vote for administration. Yet, the 7 of us know really well, when we come in and they put a change order in front of us that doubles the price of the project, who gets the burden of that? Council says, yeah, I guess we better pay that. There are all good reasons to do that, but maybe we should have made those decisions last year to move the job forward, to do a lot of things that we don't get the same input. So that's really what it's all about, is trying to give this back, this position back, the city back to the point where voters can actually say, I'm going to vote for so-and-so because he's a good manager and he'll run the city. And I can talk to him, I can go in his office and have a conversation, and we can make changes that really work. Now, Mayor Wartness is here, and he's kinder than I, supposedly. What he and I were both elected to office on the same year. I was a councilman, he was a mayor. We sat through all 3 meetings in December. You usually only have 2, and Mayor Vincent put a 3rd special meeting in, which when we had a special meeting, Tony wouldn't allow this subject on the docket. It couldn't be done. But back when Mayor Vincent had it, we were able to put a 3rd meeting into December, and we were able to make sure that Mayor Wartness couldn't get rid of the city administrator. Now, since then, we've had 3 mayors, Mayor Wartness, Mayor Baker, and Mayor Gard. We've also had 3 city administrators. So what we really should be talking about is how do we make the city administrators stay put, not how bad the choices are that the mayors make. And so we have had 3 different city administrators. This is not about Mayor Gard trying to get rid of the city administrator. It's about the people of Riverton getting a chance to vote for who's running the city. And that's missing right now. We don't have that. And we come down here every 2 weeks as a unified body. We do an excellent job. This is a great council, and the council's excellent. The staff is excellent. There is not, and I don't think anybody can ever point me back to a point where I wanted to fire anybody in the city. Rick's here. He's city attorney. Have I ever called you about terminating anybody?
No, sir.
And so I think this is not the subject. I think it's the great firing point, and it's easy to sit back and say, well, yeah, you're just trying to grab power. But what it really is, it's like when the kids ask if they can go to the movie, and mom says, ask dad, and dad's watching TV, and they come in and say, Dad, can we go to the movie? And dad doesn't want to be interrupted. He says, oh, yeah, go ahead. What'd mom say? She said to ask you. Oh, yeah, it's all right with mom. Go ahead. That's the type of problem that we have. And it isn't who's getting fired. I can't think of the last guy that we fired. And I can too. And HR worked really hard on it. Tony did his level best. Kristen did her level best. They pulled the weight. They documented everything. We went into that with the idea that we were going to win, and we came out and lost. So it really doesn't matter who fires who. HR is a landmine. It's hard to work in.
Your
But,
Honor,
yes.
if that is the issue, I would like to amend the motion
Okay.
to allow for the removal of the city administrator to also have to be consent of the council.
And I'm fine with that. That's why we're here. Let me finish my remarks. Out of all of the towns and cities in Fremont County, we are the only one that operates with a weak mayor. All the rest have a strong mayor. That's Lander, Pavilion, DuBois, Hudson, Shoshone. They find it very possible to work. The mayor's pictures on the walls, all of them except for the last three, two on the wall, and I'm not up there yet, haven't got the opportunity to work as a strong mayor. It isn't about firing people. It's about how we get things done on a timely basis. We have great staff. There's just no other, I would put our staff up against anybody that we come up against. I tell Tony this constantly and constantly. But it's about convincing the voter that they need to get engaged and their vote counts. And they are in charge of Riverton. This is their building. The things that we do here should be representative of the constituent that we represent. And it makes it very difficult when you get in a conversation with a voter and they finally say, I had a conversation with a very intelligent older gentleman than myself today who has been voted into many political offices. And he said it doesn't matter because the electorate is too stupid to vote for somebody that would do the job. So I stand here with the idea that I'm trying to give this back to the citizenry of Riverton. And my door is always open. I always have the opportunity for somebody to come in and talk to me. And I appreciate that. So that being done, that special meeting in December changed that for everybody else. Interesting to me that we've had 3 administrators at the same time we've had 3 mayors. So maybe we ought to write some kind of ordinance about the administrators. I just think that it's important that we have an opportunity here. We have an opportunity to hire, and we need to hire really, really cheerleader positions that really push Riverton. And I hope that all of those applications would come to all 7 of us. I would like an amendment that said that this body, this group of 7, would look at the applications and come up with a recommendation to who should be hired. I think that is a better answer than all of the others, because I think those top 5, 6 staff members are that critical to us. I can't do my job if the chief won't support me. The chief has been excellent support. Everything I've asked for, he's been willing to do. Tony's the same way. Mia, I wish I had time to tell you about Mia, but Mia, when we were critical of what she does, she doesn't dig her feet in. She figures out how to fix it. And she's got our shutoffs down to 13, 14 a month. And if we don't have that critical conversations of how do we fix something, it doesn't get fixed. And it's easy for us as politicals to just stand back and say, oh, well, you know, that's the city administrator's job. He did that. I can't fix that. And so that's what I'm here at. And I'll take any amendment that makes that workable. And we have 2 more readings to do this. And so I would suggest that we pass it. Go sharpen your pencils, bring back the changes that you want. I am open for all of those. But this needs to get back to where the citizen actually feels like they have the power to elect the mayor and have changes made. And I think that's just the short, and when you ask me why are these changes there, that's what I'm trying to accomplish, to get the electorate back in the game.
Follow-up questions?
Yep.
I had several calls today, as I'm sure everybody did, And one of the questions was, why should we vote for city council members? If the mayor's the one making the decisions and not just the hiring and firing, you know, obviously the council works with ordinances and things of that nature, but it does in some ways reduce or mutes the voice of the voters. And when they elect a city council member for their ward, that's their voice for the city. And if you stifle that vote some, then how do we tell our constituents what's going on when we essentially have our hands tied? So in the research that I've done, I mean, I think there are a lot of, it's not just black and white, and there are a lot of hybrids of both forms of government. If you look at our current form of government, can we change what we do now to make it more palatable for the mayor to be, because honestly, the buck stops at you, Mr. Mayor. You've done a great job with the city. And if somebody comes to you today, says, I have a problem with this, you are the guy, just like Mayor Warpness was the guy, that went and sought out a solution for that person and for that company, for that whatever. So I don't think that the mayor's voice is as stifled as we're discussing it. But I do see that there are some limitations in having a stronger council and administrator versus a strong mayor form of government. Can the ordinance be changed to where it's essentially an administrator council with the mayor as to have additional say or power, if you will?
Of course it can. That's exactly what we're discussing. We want to get to a form of government that makes I would like to get to the form of government that makes the electorate feel like they have the control. And so if the amendment is to make it a majority vote off the council, that's a great idea. I'm not trying to be the CEO or the king here. What I'm trying to get to is a point of impact of where you can actually say, if you want something done, and see, even when we talk about that, when we go to vote, every 4 years you can vote for a mayor citywide, right? And every 2 years you can vote for a council person in those wards. But it takes 4 votes to remove administrator, right? And so even if you get really dedicated and go out and try to move the electorate to get rid of an administrator, the votes aren't there through the people. And so it stifles the fact that you can't fire me. I don't have to do what you tell me to do. We don't have to listen to the situation that's in front of us. And to be real frank, I've been here for 60 years. Councilman Hancock wants to add up how many years we've been here. I realize Kyle's tipping the scale really hard, but the reality of it is we're here and we're staying. And to be threatened by the fact that staff may leave us, that's their choice. We all have staff that leaves us from time to time. And you know, I've had some staff leave me that were really convinced that I couldn't do business without them. You had any of those?
Never.
Not now, I don't.
And so I don't think it's about that. What I think it's about is amending our abilities to bring in the community development director and finding somebody that this group, these 7, really think works. And then voting on that and making that work. The way it works now is Tony gets to look at all 12 applicants and pick the one that he likes and bring it to us, and we get to say yay or nay. We don't get to say what was choice 2 and 3 and 4. And I think that should be amended. However that needs to be done, I think that's what we need to do. This isn't just Rich Gard. This goes back through 3 administrations. And there's what, I didn't count them on the wall, but there's a lot more mayors than that worked under this situation. Mayor Vincent, as was pointed out, was glad to be a strong mayor for 8 years in his administration. On the last 3 meetings in December, he changed that so that that wasn't the case. And so I don't see it as we're all going to lose our jobs or we're all getting fired. And I think it's even a little bit disappointing that we have that conversation when nobody gets fired. And we hang all this on the fact that we're gonna fire somebody, and we haven't. So,
Your Honor.
Mike.
I guess to me, I just think this current ordinance in its form goes way too far down that road. I think if we decide that we want to have the city council be involved in the process of hiring senior staff, department heads and administrator, I think we can do that. You know, we did that when we hired an administrator, and we all went through interview processes and read multiple, resumes multiple times. I don't know, how many candidates did we go through? 20?
15.
15?
Yeah.
Bunch.
And actually, I would point out that the last time you didn't find an administrator, you had to go out a second time.
Yeah, we went through multiple rounds. And I think that was a good process. And I think as frustrated as we were going through it, I think we did a great job. Hindsight's 20/20, right? There's no way to tell till you're there. I think if that's what we're looking for, I think that can be done pretty simply with just an ordinance change, not totally revamping the whole, chain of command of the city of Riverton. I think it works pretty well there. I think really our interaction is with the department heads and the administrator. And if so, I think we could do that, and that would give us, more input into those decisions. But I don't think the mayor needs to be involved in whether the garbage truck driver is doing his job correctly and whether he should get reprimanded or not, or, whatever. I mean, I think that's just getting too far down in the minutia. We need to stay at the board level and control the overall goals of the city of Riverton. And I think senior staff can be part of that, that direction. And I think Tony, for the most part, we haven't hired a lot of people since he's been here, but I think on the most of them, he's sort of brought that to our attention and let us look at the candidates. And so, I mean, again, I think we could tweak that pretty easily and not have to totally revamp the hierarchy of the city of Riverton.
Does anybody want to make that motion? You want to amend your motion?
Well, Your Honor.
Your Honor, yeah. I was going to say.
I think it would be better if we brought that as a totally new ordinance change only, because this one basically would be totally thrown out and a new one would be there.
Okay.
So.
Well, let's vote. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye also. And all nay?
Nay.
Nay.
1, 2, 3, 4. Motion fails. We'll move on to 14, consideration of West Main Water Project change order. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This was brought to you at our last city council meeting, but as we discussed, there were some numbers to hone down, and we wanted to do that before you had opportunity to vote. I'll therefore be very brief in my explanation since you have heard this once before. This change order relates to the West Main Waterline Project, and it specifically relates to an emergency situation where we found more line that needed to be replaced due to the loss of about 3 million gallons a month. And we present to you now change order 1 in the amount of $59,302 to this project. There are funds in the water enterprise account to cover this change order. We also feel that as we go through this fiscal year, we can find efficiencies in our other capital projects and our operations to help absorb this necessary cost so that we could address the emergency situation of repairing line that we had no idea was in such a bad shape before we started the project. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. A week ago, this was $34,000. You want to enlighten us why we were now at 59?
Yes, Your Honor. As we talked about last week, this relates to the amount of asphalt that had to be taken as part of this change order, then also as part of the project in its entirety. The project was designed at 4 inches of asphalt. After we got through the project and we're about to pave, it was communicated that we needed to pave that at 6 inches per YDOT standard. So that increased the amount of tonnage for the project. We also had more asphalt as far as the size of the trenches were concerned. Many of you council members were able to go to that site and see the large chunks of concrete. Some were 7 by 7 feet. The reason for that is whoever installed that pipe the first time and dug down, instead of putting in a slurry mix, they put in full concrete mix. So there was no way to access the line to do our repairs without pulling out 7 by 7 feet sections of concrete, which led us to have to cut the road, and we do not think that that is a cost that should be borne by the contractor. That's not a foreseen thing that they could have planned for in their price. It was an unforeseen condition, and therefore that added the cost as well. So we had more depth in the thickness of asphalt, and then we also had a size change when you consider the type of trench that was required to access the line, repair the line, backfill the line, road base the line, and then pave the line.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the West Main Street Water Line Replacement Project Change Order Number 1 in the amount of $59,302.
So moved. Second.
Councilman Larson has the motion, and Councilman Bailey has the second. Further discussion?
Your Honor. Yeah. Kyle, how much savings in 3 million gallons are we making?
Your Honor, I have not done that calculation, but what we have is a savings in chemical at the treatment plant. We also have a savings in resource and an efficiency in our system. I can look into that from a cost to produce that much water that, unfortunately, for a lot of years, was either chasing the gravel in the ground or finding its way into storm drain pipes. I do not have that analysis, but I can work on that.
But it's certainly less than, over a number of years, it's going to be greater than $59,000.
Your Honor, we will probably catch up to that one day. That is correct.
Okay.
Any others? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Airport lease agreement for a Road Forward LLC. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This lease, as you mentioned, is for a Road Forward LLC. However, moving forward, I'll refer to this lessee as Priceless. This is our car rental agency at the airport. As you remember, on December 1st, 2020, the City Council approved a lease agreement with Priceless to operate from the terminal building. The lease includes counter space. It also incorporates space for parking and other accommodations at the terminal. Since the time of approval, Priceless has been working to bring its operations to its full level at the terminal. However, there has been a challenge in receiving adequate communication infrastructure, specifically internet infrastructure. This lease basically is an amendment to the current one that will allow the lessee to take or to receive internet service provided by the City of Riverton's service to the terminal, and not put it on the lessee to provide that service on their own. We've drafted a simple policy for you to consider because, as you know, at the terminal, it is important for us to be fair to all of our lessees and to not violate our FAA grant assurances in that regard. Therefore, in working with our IT staff, we've established that we will allow any lessee at the terminal access to the internet service that we provide there, so long as that lessee does not require more than 30 megabytes. If the required capacity is greater than that, it is still on the lessee to bring in their own communication infrastructure. We're also stating that the city will provide the necessary separation to secure the city's digital infrastructure against the lessees. It also states that the city will provide an IP address specific to the lessee, and again, that helps ensure that separation. And the cost per month to a lessee who wants to take part of this is $40. This helps recuperate the cost to be on the city's internet service, and then also the cost to administer it and provide the IP address. We've been in touch with the lessee, and they are amenable to these terms, and this will actually help solve a problem in getting them operating in a quicker manner. I've been in touch with our IT team who, unfortunately for you, speak this language much better than I do. I don't have the best vocabulary when it comes to information technology. I can talk to you about dirt and asphalt. But I have been in touch with them. They have no concerns as far as the impact of capacity on our infrastructure for internet services, and feel this is very doable even from a security standpoint. Therefore, city staff recommends that the city council approve Amendment 1 to the lease agreement with price lists. And that amendment, again, is in your packet for your review. It basically addresses two things. It changes the amount of money paid by the lessee to cover the $40 fee, and it changes the paragraph where it states that the lessee is responsible for any utility outside of heat, electric, janitorial services, et cetera. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve Amendment 1 to the current lease agreement with Four Road Forward LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Your Honor.
Give me just a second.
Okay.
Councilwoman Borders has a motion, and Dean Peranto, Councilman Peranto has a second. Further discussion.
Your Honor, I will abstain from the discussion and the voting on this because I'm a partner in that business, so.
Thank you.
Are we down there, or can I stay up here? Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Airport 16, the Airport Rescue Grant Program application, Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is similar to the action you took for the Carissa grant, the federal funds that went directly to the airport. The American Recovery Plan Act, or ARPA, was approved and signed into law March 11th, 2021. It included nearly $8 billion of funds that go direct to U.S. airports. And this action addresses the funds that are assigned to the city of Riverton, and more specifically Central Wyoming Regional Airport. Under ARPA and the administration of the FAA, primary commercial service airports receive about $6.5 billion of that $8 billion earmarked under ARPA for airports. Primary commercial airports also share an additional $800 million based on the number of annual boardings for these funds. Non-primary commercial service airports and general aviation airports receive $100 million of that $8 billion. And then also the Airport Improvement Program, which we participate in, will be funded this year at 100% federal share. This was similar to the fiscal year that we just ended, where CARES Act provided that for the airport. Central Wyoming Regional Airport is a non-primary airport. As referenced in your packet, this distinguishing factor is the number of emplanements associated with an airport. We are below the 10,000 threshold and therefore only qualify under the $100 million allocation of ARPA funds. That being said, we will be allocated or eligible to apply for $59,000 in ARPA grant monies. These funds can go towards airport operations and other operations that will help prevent the spread of pathogens related to COVID-19 and other transmissible diseases. Revenues associated with ARPA were estimated in the fiscal year '22 budget at $24,000. The reason for that is we based it off of the allocation from the Carissa funding. We're happy to see that these funds are coming in at a higher amount. The $35,000 difference will just need to be amended into the budget, should this be something you choose to apply for.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to accept the American Recovery Plan Act, the ARPA grant, in the amount of $59,000.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Pronto has a motion, and Councilwoman Cox has a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passed. We are now at council committee reports and council members roundtable. Kristen, could you start us off?
I've attended a couple meetings with the Chamber of Commerce. Right now, they are in the process of hiring a new director. They also took on a project that was started earlier with the resignation of the chair. Several committee members took on the obstacle course that will be at Happy Days at City Park. And the council approved that it would be sponsored by the chamber, free to the public, just because it occurred a couple years ago and stuff. So we encourage everybody to get excited about Saturdays, Happy Days, and as a community come together. There's a lot of really hardworking people that have put a lot of time and effort to make it a great event for our city. So I encourage everyone to get out there, and we're always looking for volunteers for a bunch of things going on. So if anybody's available, let us know.
Thank you. Kyle?
July 4th came and went, and I don't see anybody out saying bad things about it. From the viewpoint on Sunburst Estates, it was a beautiful view for the fireworks demonstration. And as far as I know, there was minimal fires caused by it. Second thing is, I went to the solid waste, and we're still working on some point in the future shutting down Shoshone, and the bid is excessive, but that's what it is, about $100,250,000. And we're still thinking about shutting Lander down in 2028. I can't even figure out when 2028 is. I mean, that's 7 years from now, I realize that, but, you know, that's a long, figures jump. Anyway, and so the point was made that at some point in time, the stakeholders, it should be stakeholder Riverton, should find out when we're going to start single hauling our solid waste out to Sandral versus backhauling it to Lander, but that's still up for discussion. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Carla?
Your Honor, I did not have any committee meetings since we met last. I do want to just kind of echo what Christy said about Happy Days. There's a lot going on, a lot of fun stuff. Go to goriverton.com for any information that you might need. There's Elton John impersonator here for a fundraiser. There's Happy Days. Anything you want to do, that's probably going on. I also know that Colorado, the Mountain Man Rendezvous Association, they banned them from being able to do their rendezvous in Colorado this year. So they're coming to Riverton. And they may actually already be here, but that's something to check into as well. That's kind of a bonus for us. We have the regular Mountain Man Rendezvous, and now we have Colorado here doing theirs. So that's about all I've got.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, I've been involved in the Go Riverton group, the ambassadors. Again, lots of stuff going on, like everybody's already said. Again, we've worked on the airport promotion for next year when Jackson's going to be closed, and so they're still working on a lot of things with that. Again, a lot of moving pieces to that, but it looks like we have at least got one additional flight per day going to be coming in, which should increase our traffic dramatically. And even with that, we're only going to get 4 or 5% of what Jackson's total volume is. So again, they, like I've said before, they have a lot of people going through that airport every year. So, but we're working on all the different aspects of that, and it's going pretty well. So I think Riverton will see some additional traffic. Kyle sent out an email, I think, just before we got here. Again, I attended the airport board meeting, and in June, we hit 1,523 boardings, which is just amazing.
Awesome.
That's an amazing number. So I think we got a really good chance of hitting our 10,000 number. So if they keep throwing money away, we'll get more next time, right? So thank you. That's all I have.
Lindsay?
I attended the pause meeting last week, and like Carla said, they're doing the Elton John show this weekend, and proceeds will go to Mr. Walker from the Stock Dock. We're also working on the Paws and Pearls, which will be in September, and we just got the flyers up for that. And they are looking for auction items and raffle items, so if anyone would like to donate for that cause, they can contact me or someone at Paws. And then I also attended my first senior endowment committee with Mia, and so it was nice to meet everybody on that committee. And that's it.
Thank you. Dean?
Your Honor, I haven't attended any other meetings since our last meeting, but I do have a question. I think it's important to move our previous discussion forward. How do we best do that? Is that something that the city administration would bring to council at our next meeting? Or how do we move an ordinance change forward?
I don't know. I don't think staff is much into the ordinance. They kind of like it where it's at. So possibly if we can work inside our own 7 here and come up with something that you guys think would work better. I think that's where we're going to have to go. City attorney will help us with that. And so, and maybe we don't need to go anywhere. You know, maybe we're all right where we're at. So probably some discussion amongst ourselves to what we can do and want to do, so we can get an ordinance that we're more familiar with and like better. I thought I had done that. It appears I did not. So, but I think we can talk with each other all we want, and I think it is an ordinance that we really need to discuss and make some changes. So I appreciate the thought.
Well, I do too, Your Honor, and I think that we're also under some time constraints since we're looking for filling a position not too distant future. So a discussion to that end would probably be better had more sooner than later.
Well, and they keep us pretty well neutered because we can't meet and discuss those things aloud. That's why Mayor Wharton has made the suggestion that 3 of you and 3 of you, and maybe we could, you know, this is the tip of the iceberg. It's just hard to get 4 votes to move any direction. And so that's the security that they've built into the system. So I think we need to discuss it and come back to something that we really like to do. So, okay.
Thank you, sir.
City Administrator's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. A lot of the council has already covered some of the items that I was going to, so that shortens it up a good bit. We have the balloon rally coming up on the 16th. I wanted to remind everybody of that. That's such a great event, so well done. Kristen, would you remind me how many balloons now?
31.
31 balloons right now.
It broke the record.
It's incredible. And I think I'd like to give credit to everybody who's involved. The mayor, went out and got a ton of sponsorships. Other individuals went and got sponsorships. Megan, Kristen, that whole team, they've done such a nice job. We have a new balloon this year to show off at the event, and I think it's going to be outstanding. Force will meet on the 12th. The EDGE process has started again, and so that will run all the way through July 31st. So right now, if anybody is interested, that has been posted. It's been posted on Facebook. It is on our website. If anybody has any questions, they're welcome to give us a call. Call me directly. I'll be happy to help people through that process. We've tried to make it relatively easy while still getting the information, and I really hope that that's that we're able to do that. We do have some funds left. I do apologize. I had every intention of having the RMD, Riverton Medical District agreement. I wanted a little bit more time with that. One of the challenges that we're facing with that is simply that it is likely the largest project that this funding source will see, and it's also the first. And so we're trying our best to make sure that those I's are dotted, those T's are crossed as best we can. So we plan to have that to you this next. We just wanted a couple more. We need a little bit more time, and we will have it to you at the next meeting. Again, Happy Days this weekend. We have been coordinating with regard to the obstacle, with regard to getting maps. When we would remind folks that when they need maps or something, or if they have questions about how things either get closed or the like, please come and see us. We're happy to help with that. We really do want to help. We have no meeting next week. WAM is the 14th through the 16th. The mayor and I will attend. As pointing out, I was pointing out the employments at 1523 for a comparison. The highest year previously was 2013 at almost 300 less. That's really, really impressive compared to where we've been coming in historically. So, you know, everybody's doing a really good job there. With that, Your Honor, I do not have anything else.
Thank you. I attended the planning meeting, and at that planning meeting, Mr. Carr announced his resignation, and also Lance Godey announced his resignation, and we will miss those two. In the EDGE committee meeting, that was a really good meeting, and we do have another business moving to Riverton, and we have application from them for funding, and so that's a really good move forward, about 35 to 40 jobs. So fielded a few calls on strong mayor, as you can imagine. I met in Lander with a group of gentlemen that are looking to put a solar farm out on Gas Hills Road on a school section. Tony was kind enough to construct a letter for my signature for that project, and we sent it to the governor's office. And the governor's office wants to talk to us tomorrow at 2. So maybe they'll tell us, hey, you're in with the wrong friends, or maybe they'll say, we'll help you with that. We had the wonderful opportunity of the renaming of the Brett Watson junior football field, and what a wonderful opportunity that is, and I appreciate everybody that got behind that. What a wonderful gentleman he was, and how involved he was with the community. A really nice letter from the family. Had Kristen's fingerprints all over it, so we do appreciate those things, and just going to be hard to replace him. So he was on our EDGE committee, and so we need to, and Tony will put that application out there. We need a replacement for his position, and so we're taking applications for the EDGE committee, and we would need those. If you're at all interested, we'd love to have you. We can't do this job without our volunteer committees, and so that really is important. If that's something you'd like to do, please come join us. We had a meeting about the turbidity of the water in in May, and Kyle was kind enough to draft a letter that was very self-explanatory and so well done that I haven't got a single call. I don't know about Mia's side of that equation, but I haven't got a single call. How's your side doing?
Our side is good, Your Honor. We had a couple of calls, but they've been addressed. We've forwarded them to the smart people and the scientists, and
Super.
they've been addressed.
And that was really well done, and what that came from was that you had to report those as a complete month, and we started May late, and so we only had 6 days. Kyle, fix me if I get off. We had 6 days of reporting, and so when we first started up the plant, the filters had to expand and pick up those particles, and if we would have even had probably one more day, we wouldn't have those letters to send out. But we really do appreciate that. No one's at risk of harm to our knowledge, and so we appreciate the citizenry that helps us with that, and the staff that does what, the water staff. Millie, do I say that right? She came in and it was almost a personal insult to her that this was happening, you know, and so she really does a wonderful job up there with her team, and so we appreciate what she does for us, and I can remember many years ago when I first learned that drinking water came from the canal was a real surprise. So they do a wonderful job with that. We swam in that canal, so I can imagine. There was also a WRCD meeting that a lot of us attended at Sundowner, and that's really important. I got a real fun opportunity. Lindsay called and asked me to do a Little League baseball game. That came in coordination with a call about fireworks and a gentleman who needed the information so he could drug his dog and help his dog out. And so I called and gave him the information. I called back the next day and told him what we were doing, and he was very appreciative of that information. We also had a problem up on Main Street with, you don't think of these things till they happen. Keystone is contracted to put the parking barriers out. Did I get that right?
Traffic control.
Traffic control group. And so they put all the barriers out, and they completely made it so that you couldn't get into Norco's location. And so I spoke with the manager, came down, spoke to me, and I went up and all the crews had left, but I got a hold of Mr. Bornhoff, and by 8 o'clock in the morning, there was a lane into Norco, and they made sure that happened, and I appreciated their efforts. I also had Joel's here tonight, a mayor from Shoshone. I appreciate him coming. We had a 7 o'clock Zoom meeting that all of us hate Zoom meetings, but we agreed to it. We should not agree to Zoom meetings. And so that later that afternoon, we had a 3-4 hour meeting in Lander with FTAG, which is a real important group, and a lot gets done there. And so most of our conversations were about the ambulance. The county would like us to fund a large portion of that. I don't know exactly where we're going to do that, so that's a conversation that we should have down the road. Tony came into my office last Friday to tell me that about the shooting in Lander of the highway patrol officer, and it was fairly early. I think he was in my office before 5, explaining to me that the chief had already dispatched 2 units to Lander, 3 units to Lander. And then I cracked open the paper, and there, right in the middle of the front page picture, was our captain directing traffic. And so I really do appreciate that, Chief, and appreciate what you do and how you do it. And it's important that those people know that we appreciate what they do, and it's important to us. The other thing that I wanted to point out today, there's a few others that I'll jump, but we had the opportunity to put our handprints on the side of the old swimming pool building. And the young lady that put that project together wasn't feeling well, so we canceled that. But we need to do that fairly soon so that they can put the graffiti coating over it, so it washes off. So we'll try to get that reestablished and get back to you guys that would like to do that, and get that done. So past that, we don't have an executive session.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I did have a question that I just happened to think of. I wonder, and not to put you on the spot, Kyle, but do we have an update on the water feature in the park? I've had a lot of questions on that.
Yes, Your Honor, Councilwoman, thank you for that question. We are working really hard on getting that thing open. I am in contact with that contractor on a weekly basis. Right now, we are exploring a change in how that system runs. As you know, that was designed as a recirculating system, and it has never functioned the way it was supposed to, especially from a public safety standpoint, from a chemical dosing. So what we're looking at is abandoning that and changing it to feeding that system with culinary water from the City of Riverton treatment plant, and then wasting it into our drain lines. We currently have a design proposal. I received an update on that just this morning, and we're working with both the general contractor Slutton and their subcontractor Rawhide Mechanical. I won't give you an update as far as time because I haven't held that down, but I'm optimistic that it will be running before the end of the month. We understand that this summer was hot already, and that's a fun amenity, and everybody wants to be using it, my kids included. So we are working very closely with those contractors to get it done. We do have retainage that we have not paid the contractor, so all this work will come out of the money already owed to them to make sure that it was done to an operating standard that we can put to our community to use.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for the question. I skipped that one. We did have that conversation. So with nothing else, is there anybody else, staff have anything? Rick?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Other than that, we'll stand adjourned at 9:57.